differences between the current residential pier rates and the current and proposed rates for mooring buoys. The first table at the top of the slide is taken from the city's schedule of rents, fines, and fees for fiscal year 2025 to 26. As you can see here, the current rate for residential pier permits is 58 cents per square foot per year. In comparison, the table below, which was taken from the staff report for item 13 of the City Council's July 9th, 2024 meeting, which is the second reading of that ordinance, which was voted on at that meeting, is what we asked them to pause. But this table compares current slip rates, current mooring rates under the city's license program, and mooring rates from the city's appraisal. So at that July meeting, the City Council voted to accept changes to the existing license program that would eventually lead to all moorings being subject to the license program. However, as mentioned, the second reading of that ordinance was delayed at staff's request to allow staff time to conduct the review, which resulted in this report. As you can see, when the staff report was written, the current mooring rate for a 40-foot mooring, which is the most common size in Newport Bay, was $3.35 per lineal foot per month, or $1,608 per year, which is shown in the first bullet point on the right. This rate has changed slightly due to CPI adjustments in the intervening time, but it is a relatively minor change that accounts for roughly $30 per year. Under the license program, the rate for the same size mooring is $15 per linear foot per month, or $7,200 per year. And for comparison, if the current pier rate was applied to the area impacted by a 40-foot mooring, which is estimated at 1,200 square feet, then this would result in rent of $696 per year. However, it must be noted that piers and moorings are not equivalent uses, so comparing them is not apples to apples, but this comparison does still provide some context for the differences in rates.
Okay, just to clarify, so you're saying for a 40-foot boat, if it were on a pier, it would probably be paying somewhere around $696 a year.
Not necessarily. So the pier rate would be based on the square footage of the pier facility, the dock itself, that it occupies on state land. If we were to apply the rate that they assess for those piers, though, to the square footage that a 40-foot mooring occupies within open water, which is 1,200 square feet as estimated by the city's appraiser, that would lead to $696 per year in rent.
But if, I understand you said it's not apples to apples, but if you were trying to compare, wouldn't you say the rough size of a pier for a 40-foot boat?
It could be larger. It would really depend on the specific footprint of that pier.
Okay, but let's say it's a typical footprint that you would have for a 40-foot boat. What would that be currently per year, roughly?
I couldn't say. It would really depend on the exact square footage of that particular pier. So as an example, a 1,200 square foot dock.
There's not an average size?
There might be an average size. I'm not aware of what it would be.
I'm just not sure why this is useful to, it's not just happen, why would it be useful to us really at all to have a pier rate
It's
quantified if that's not what people are actually paying to use pier? Wouldn't we want to know? I mean, that's how ordinary people would experience it,
Correct.
right?
I think the intent for the comparison here is just to highlight that for coverage over the same space, it highlights that the piers are actually devalued too low. So I think that that was the intent of again,
But that's not net.
But it's not, like you said, it's not an apple to apple.
So are you saying then a pier? So is that a median priced 696? Is that a median price of what it would cost to have a pier that would fit a 40-foot boat?
We don't have that exact data. What we have is what they
Is
provided.
anybody out there paying $696 a year for a pier?
I don't know. We can look and get back to you. I think what staff was trying to highlight was that if you had a 1,200 square foot footprint of a pier, the yearly
Why is that
yearly rent,
relevant if it isn't?
it's only in comparison to what the footprint of a mooring is. That was what the intent for the
I
comparison
understand, but it seems irrelevant to me. I mean, the question that I would want to know, and what we're hearing from people is, we're paying $1,608 a year today to moor a 40-foot boat, and they want to move it to $7,200 a year. You're showing us something that indicates that a similar methodology would price a pier, a 1,200 square foot pier, at this lower rate. But you're not explaining to us what in reality is the current rate for a residential pier in the same way of just roughly around the same size that would house that type of a boat. I mean, if you're trying to exemplify how much less it is for a pier, you need to tell us what people are in reality paying for that pier.
I suppose it would be on a per square foot basis is what we're comparing here. So if we were to take the 1,200 square feet that are supposedly occupied by a 40-foot vessel on a mooring, and we were to divide the 7,200 per year by that 1,200 square feet, you would end up with a rate per square foot that is significantly higher than the pier rate.
The picture you showed us earlier that showed the envelope of
Could we go back?
the pier,
2 slides?
is that a 1,200 square foot? The one on the picture on the left, is that?
That is not. It would be hard to say. I can't recall what the exact square footage of those are.
Roughly.
But you could put, for example, a 40-foot boat in those slips. But the way that the city calculates the rent, the one on the left there, would be for the exact area over which that dock sits and does not account for the U-shaped space in the middle where you would generally put a boat.
I know that, but I want to know how much is that pier?
I couldn't tell you, but I can find out for you.
Chair Kanalakis, maybe what we can do is actually set up a specific
No,
I
don't want to come back on this. I just want to understand. People are saying it's much, much cheaper to rent a pier than it is to rent a mooring, and that's not fair. I want to understand from you, is that true? Do you have information that shows in this presentation that that's the case?
In absolute numbers, in terms of what one pays per year, I don't have that information. In terms of a per square foot value, I do.
And is that per square foot what they're calculating the rent on?
Yeah, it's not per square foot for the moorings. That's based on a linear foot basis for the length, and the piers are per square foot. So again, it's not fully apples to apples, but you can slice the numbers into per square foot.
That's part of our concern with the inconsistency in terms of how the moorings are being calculated and how the piers are being calculated. So it's I'd like to say it's super straightforward, and it's not. The rates that are charged for the piers are based on the square footage themselves. The rates that are paid for the moorings are based on an entirely different calculation, including the occupation of the space by the vessel as well. So it was really hard to do a true apples to apples comparison for this. So I was thinking one of the things that we could do as staff while we're getting these comments from folks is to create a specific scenario where you can see all of the different rates being applied to the same exact scenario and showcasing the difference.
Can we do that as part of
Yes.
this item? Okay,
Yes.
see what you can find. I mean, I'm looking at that. I know what 1,200 square feet is. It's a little hard to tell the scale there. But I think even if it's somewhere close to that, you're looking at a massive difference.
The difference, as Jeff was saying, for if you calculate backwards on what the mooring holders are paying under the proposed permit is approximately $6 per square foot. So you can calculate, versus 58 cents per square foot for the pier holders. So that's the discrepancy. And maybe that's more helpful just as a general rule than trying to equate it out. But that is taking an average mooring and what they occupy and what that would look like per square foot. So that is, what, a 12-fold difference?
Yeah.
Got it.
So, yeah.